Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Griffin versus Richmond.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Mr. Griffin, you were a married man who had a 2-year affair with your wife's stepsister, the defendant. You say that relationship produced a daughter, but Ms. Richmond claims you are not her daughter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your other daughter, Lakeisha, is here to support your claim. Ms. Richmond, you admit to the affair with Mr. Griffin, but say you are positive the plaintiff is not your daughter's biological father, and you plan to prove that in court today. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And so how do you end up having an affair with your sister's husband?
Not thinking, just being wild at that time of my age, and just not caring about anything. I can admit to that. I'm trying to fix it for her now.
Mr. Griffin, I have to ask you now. I mean, you a married man, and it's bad enough you sleeping around outside the marriage. But your wife's sister?
That was an honest mistake, Your Honor. But at the same...
Wait, now there wasn't no mistaken identity. You knew it was your wife's
I
sister.
understand. No, I'm talking about me doing what I did.
Was it an honest mistake or a dishonest mistake?
Dishonest mistake.
How long did this mistake?
It lasted, I'd say, about 2 years.
Yeah. 2 years?
About a year. I know a year.
This wasn't no mistake. This was a decision.
Exactly.
Okay? Hey. So for 2 years, you were sleeping with your wife's sister?
Yes.
Regularly?
Yes.
Often, very often.
Without protection?
Without protection.
Lord, you should be able to be alone
Right.
with your sister's husband and not sleep with him, or
Yes,
him
Your
not
Honor.
sleep with you. But how are you all spending this much time where this type of relationship could develop?
Because he was taking me home from when I used to go over to their house to visit my stepsister and stuff.
How long had you been married at the time, Mr. Griffin?
I'm still about 10 years.
So you all had known each other for an extended amount of time. Oh, this is all in the family.
All in the family, Your Honor. I was in love, so I thought what I thought was love back in that time.
Oh, because you had worked yourself up that you was in love with him.
Yes, Your Honor. I think that's why I chose to tell him first before anyone else that he was the father. We slept together more unprotected than I did with the other gentlemen.
And when you told him, what was his response? Do you remember?
As I remember, he said yes. Right off. He came over to my house and he picked her up and he went up on the stairs and he, put her up to the light and he said, yeah, she could be mine. And that was the last we ever discussed her really seriously.
That's the last you discussed her paternity?
Of him seeing her, actually, of me and him talking about her, being
I never
as
seen
one.
her.
Yeah, I've never.
That's because she left.
Hold on, Miss.
I'm coming
Hold
to
on,
that
Miss
part.
Richmond.
I'm coming to that part.
Miss Richmond, Tykia, you're asserting in court today that you have not seen Mr. Griffin?
I seen him one time when I was like 14. But
in your life?
In my life. I spoke to him the first time on the phone, like the other week. I never
That's because I didn't know
talked
what
to
they was
him.
at. 30 years I've been knowing that she's my daughter.
So you've never had a doubt?
Never had a doubt.
In 30 years?
In 30 years.
I did tell him that I was pregnant, but also I did tell him he was the father. But at the time, he also knew I was, with other people also. And he was a married man, so. And I'm sure he was with other people, too. So I was with 2 other guys.
So you were admitting that during the window of conception, you were also sleeping with 2 other men?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you tell those men you were pregnant as
No,
well?
Your Honor, no.
Why did you only choose to tell Mr. Griffin?
Mr. Griffin was the one I was with mostly all the time, mostly.
Right.
So that's
and so
why
you know it only
assumed
takes
was
once,
his.
though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Her mother's saying there is doubt and you're not. How can you be so sure?
Got photos here of when I was young and she was young.
Jerome, let me see that.
And because if it wasn't my daughter, why would the reason she come and tell me that she was pregnant?
Were you with her all during the pregnancy?
No.
We was never together.
No,
You weren't together during the pregnancy?
After I got pregnant, we never had too much contact because I got into a relationship with another
because
gentleman.
you didn't want to come over.
While you were pregnant with his child?
We didn't hardly see each
She
other.
was trying to hide it from a stepsister.
So, Mr. Griffin, how did you tell your wife that you got her sister pregnant?
I didn't. Because I was too embarrassed to tell her I did that.
So, Tykia, I want to hear from you.
Right.
Because I want to understand, at what point did you find out?
Like the first time someone brought his name up was like, my mom never brought his name up. And then we went to Albany when I was in the 3rd grade, and my aunt and my cousins say, oh, you look just like the Griffins. You look just like the Griffins. That's like what everybody always say. You look just like those Griffins. And I'm like, who is the Griffin? And she's like, oh, no, those not your people. That's not your dad. I don't know. My mom, when people ask me who's my dad, I always said my whole life, I don't have a dad. I don't know my dad. I don't have a name. My mom never told me a name.
How hard is that as a young woman growing up?
It's just sad. And then I always have to hear stupid stories now about some old 70s love triangle. It's just stupid.
Wow, your family, they're your links. They're your pieces to your puzzle when you figure out who you are as a child.
Exactly.
I mean, without that, I can imagine that you did feel like you didn't know where you came from.
I'm sorry about that too, because I was very selfish for years and I didn't want to deal with my past, but I wasn't thinking about your life, and I'm sorry.
Probably when I was like in high school, I got a message on MySpace. Can you remember MySpace?
I sure do. I wasn't on it, but I remember
So
it.
I got a message on MySpace from Lakeisha. Just a long little thing saying, I think you're my sister. And I'm just like who is this girl? So
And wait, so when you first got the message, were you overwhelmed with emotion, or did you feel like it was a prank? What were you thinking?
I just thought she was crazy because of what my mom say.
Oh, because your mom had told you.
All I know is what my mom say.
So, Ms. Griffin, Lakeisha, I want to hear from you. You reached out to Tykia.
I did.
And what made you do that?
Well, I was in my dad's room one day because my sisters was taking up the other mirrors. So I was in there doing my hair. And after I got done and I'm getting all my hair supplies out of his room and stuff, I'm straightening up his dresser. And I see some mail from Jackson County Child Support. And I began to look at it and I seen her name. Tykia's name. After that, I decided to look her up on MySpace so I could see what she looked like.
Had you ever been told about Tykia?
Yes.
Who told you about her?
My mother. She just kind of mentioned that we had another sister, but I didn't know what her name was.
So, Miss Richmond, how did Mr. Griffin end up with child support papers if you said he was not the father?
Okay, I'm getting ready to explain that to you, Your Honor. When I moved to Wisconsin with her when she was almost 2, and we took a paternity test at that time, okay? I went on and did the child support, and she told me that, well, the test proves that he's not the father, so do you have another name to give me?
So you were told he was not the father?
Yes, I was.
All right, now I want to jump over to you. Mr. Griffin, do you remember submitting to this DNA testing years ago?
Yes, I do, and from my knowledge, that I got the paper saying I was.
You got the papers and they said that you were the father.
Yes.
So you're saying you got paperwork from one DNA test, you got paperwork that says you were the father, and Ms. Richmond, you got paperwork that says he was not.
Exactly. And I also
I've been hearing that for about 8 years.
Okay.
It's stupid because when I looked, I said, Mom, there's no record of that DNA
Exactly,
test.
that's what they...
Hold on, so now the plot thickens.
Why would I get child support papers if I didn't
I don't
show
know
up for
why
the test?
Jackson County would lie when we call. They said they cannot. I tried to get
your
the
mom
paternity
just said
card.
right over there herself that she had the test done.
Yeah, I took
They
the
said
test.
you
And I
didn't.
Oh, hold on,
Thank you.
family, hold on.
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Wow, this is
Well, I
complicated.
called. All I know is I believe the other people better than believe in
Thank
them.
you.
And when I called them, they said that they do not have a test.
Thank
they
you.
said that
From him.
we took ours, but he did not show up to take his. That's what they said. If
And
that's
that
not
in and
true,
of
I
its-
don't know.
That
But that's
would've
what
been
they
a
said.
warning.
And
told me.
listen, that in and of itself is why, even at 32 years old, it is important for you to be in this courtroom today.
Amen.
From that very piece of testimony you just said. I want to move forward because I want to understand. In your court papers, Tykia, you mentioned that one of the reasons you were prompted to get down to the bottom of this was because of the loss of your husband.
Correct. One of the other sisters, Griffin sisters, her wedding was May 21st, 2011. And she invited me and my husband. And my husband believed I looked like some of the other sisters. So he was like, yeah, we should go. We should go. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I like talked to the other people, like my sister and my mom. They like, you know, I don't think they're your family, so why would you go all the way to Michigan to a wedding? So we did not go, and that was the day he died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And he was a firefighter. I loved him to death, and he drowned. So, I mean, I was just so sad.
He drowned in the line of duty?
Yeah, if you go in Macon, Georgia, they renamed the area after him on Lake Tobesaki to the Michael Jones fishing area. So that's nice. And so basically her wedding day is Mike's death date. So if we would have went, maybe he would have been alive. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
It's okay.
You don't have to apologize, and you don't have to feel guilty.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No,
I'm sorry. I just want to talk about my husband.
I understand.
Talk about him.
I understand.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. What I'm here to make you understand, and I'm hoping that I can, is that this guilt that you feel, first of all, I want to say it's normal. I have lost my mother, and I probably replay that day. It's been 10 years, and I still replay the day. If I would have took the 12 o'clock flight instead of the 5 o'clock flight, and everything that I could have done in between, that is natural. But what I see here is even another layer to this. That because of that lack of security, because of that feeling of disconnection, all of these feelings, I believe, are compounding what your natural grief process would be. And that's where our paternity issues, they begin to anchor us down, they weigh us down so that we can't move forward. And that's why it's important that we come here to get this resolved today. I think it's time to get some answers.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Before I go to these results, Mr. Griffin, I want you to look across the aisle right now. This is a woman, you say this is your daughter.
Yes, I believe, yes, I truly believe.
Well, to me, you haven't been in this courtroom acting like much of a father. And I want you to turn to your daughter right now, if you believe this is your daughter, and I'd like for you to tell the court how you feel, and more importantly, how you recognize what she feels.
Well, I'm sorry for your husband, and I wish that I had been there for you. And I'm sorry for not being there for you.
Listen, I do believe you have a level of regret. You come from a generation where I'm sure there was a level of, well, just let well enough alone. Some people believe that. We hear those stories in this courtroom where when things get away from us or people move on, you don't want to disrupt maybe what the new family structure is, and you feel like, well, let me just play my part and stay to the back. But what I do want you to understand is, as this young woman stands here and talks about what she's dealt with for 32 years, I want you to honor the part you had to play in that hurt, because that is important for her healing as well. I'm ready for the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Griffin versus Richmond, when it comes to 32-year-old Tykia Richmond, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Griffin, you are not her father. 32 years of thinking you were this woman's father.
I'm just gonna have to help her find it because I got names for her. So whatever I gotta do to find her father, I'm just gonna have to continue.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's cool.
You still my sister.
Thank you for that.
I don't see how she couldn't be our sister. I mean, look at her eyes and look at mine. She has the same big seductive eyes as me. It's like,
I kept telling him.
No, listen.
Thank you for the eyes.
This is the issue with paternity secrets. Because the mind begins to play the game, right? And then the heart follows suit, right? She's been told since she's third grade, you look like the Griffins, all her life. There are times I sit in this chair and my heart will buy into something, but only the DNA has the truth. We wish it would have turned out differently for you all, but we wish you all the very, very best of luck, and we appreciate your courage to come in here today to get the truth. Court is adjourned. Tykea, can I see you for a moment?